I don't know about you, but have you actually ever paid for Apple Plus? Oh, you have, haven't you?
Yeah, I've paid for it here and there. I think I know what you're going to say. I've probably had more time free than I have had time paid, if that makes sense, through free trials.
Exactly. It's just crazy. Apple Plus are just like Apple in general. Yeah, they just keep giving away memberships, and it's like I was because my dad he wanted to watch Slow Horses. It was quite funny. We had a 3-month free membership, and then the last like few weeks of that membership, my dad started getting into Slow Horses, and he's like, "Well, the next season's coming, and I want to keep watching it." And I was like, "You've had all this time to watch it." Like, he had some more seasons to watch as well, and I was like, "You had all this time to watch it in that 3 months, and now you're telling me you want to watch it when the membership's expired now." But then luckily, like a month later, oh yeah, you can get a 3-month trial, and I was like, "Oh, there's a month then. You got a month to watch it in." And now I'm under a month again. Now after Christmas.
I think I paid for about 5 months in total, including this one. But I had when it first launched, everyone got a 1-year trial. I've had a 6-month trial from PlayStation, and then I think you've sent like some odd ones here and there, and I've had like a 3-month. I've had multiple 1-month trials. So I've probably had.
Oh, so
I think I've had like 2 years worth of trials, and the system's only been out for like 3 years.
I thought you'd be like, "Oh no, I can just pay for it."
Well,
so you actually use the links I send you where it's like a 3-month free. You actually use that because I do. And the thing is, it's not because what happens is eventually it will say, "Oh, you've had too many trials under that account," so you just create another email account. And that's it, and then you just...
Yes and no. I mean, I'm not so bothered that I'm going to create a new account, but each trial can only be used once per family sharing account. I would rather have all my watch history together, and I'm fine.
Yeah, that is annoying.
It's $8.99 a month, and I pay for it when I want it. So I'll pay for it for 2 or 3 months, and then I'll drop it, and we'll get Disney when Loki season 3 comes out, or we'll get... I mean, I get Netflix through my phone plan for free. So I've always got Netflix, and it's, Disney, Prime, and Apple. We just swap and change as we need it, given the TV shows. So anyway, Severance Season 2. Welcome to Screen Bytes, a podcast about video games, technology, TV, and movies. We are currently watching Season 2 of Severance. Expect heavy spoilers for Severance Season 2, Episode 1.
Been a long time coming.
Well, it has for some of us. You've only just finished Season 1.
For you. Yeah, I was thinking that. I was like, some people have waited like a few years to watch this.
We watched it. We didn't start it when it came out, but we finished it as the final episode came out. I think we managed to binge the first ones, but we had to wait for the last episodes to finish. And I think that's something like September 2022. So, yeah, long time coming. Came out on my birthday, so quite happy with that. Severance 2, Episode 1.
First thing we get is we get Mark coming out of the lift, and it's been like he's been told it's 5 months later since the last episode in Season 1 where they try to expose the Severance program and that they're being mistreated as an innie,
and that the whole world knows what's happened.
Yeah, and at first he's like, "What's going on? Why are you happy?" Or it seems like there's a bit of confusion with Milchek. Because Milchek is bringing him balloons and stuff, and he's like, "Oh, hi, Mark, how you doing? It's been a long time no see, haven't seen you in a while. Please come with me." And he's happy that he's back, and he's telling him it's been 4 months, and here's your new group of workers, and also the fact that the other workers that he worked with before are no longer with him.
They've not returned. So so it was an interesting first scene because actually thinking back to Season 1 opened to Mark S. coming out of that lift in a very sort of like calm and focused manner, and he's like he's on his way to the macro data refiner's office, and it's a long tracking shot. The camera's leading, and he's just walking very sort of like smartly, confidently, or whatever. And in the opening of Season 2, he's running. He's like running into the walls or whatever as he's going around the corners. It's very sloppy. He's very driven to get to where he's going to. And actually, like where he ends up, he's gone to the wellness room because obviously, from his perspective, like literally from his perspective, 30 seconds ago, he was telling his sister his outie's wife was still alive because he's just found out that Miss Casey is his outie's wife. So he's sort of like ran to the wellness room to kind of find her, found that the wellness room has been deactivated, the room is being built over, the doors don't exist, and he's sort of like, okay, this is weird. And then he heads off to MDR, and that's when we sort of like, he finds his new team, and that's when Milchek comes in to sort of greet him, welcome him back to Severance. Welcome him back to Severance program. And then, Milchek's like, oh, yeah, look, here's a newspaper with covering the story of the uprising of the innies, and everyone thinks you're heroes. And it's important to point out that Milchek says it's 5 months. We don't know that yet, if it is actually 5 months. It could have been 3 days, could have been 2 years. But Mark S. would have no idea. There's no way he would know. That newspaper is called the Kia Chronicles, and all of the other stories are like related to Kia and how good Kia is. So it's probably not true. When I say probably, the Kia Chronicles is a newspaper that exists outside of, Lumen. The newspaper does exist outside of the Lumen Industries because there was, in the first season when Outie Mark was on a date with the jeweler, they meet various people who are like protesting Lumen, and I think there's a Kia Chronicle that appears there, or maybe with Irving's Outie, maybe it was his sort of like research on Lumen employees. So apparently we've seen it before. This might be a newspaper that's been printed outside, but it might also just be a newspaper that's been created just to show Mark, oh, look, everything's fine and we're taking steps to become a better company for, yada, yada, yada. And then he's told, oh, yeah, your original colleagues, they've decided, their outies have decided they're not coming back. It's not possible, or yada, yada, yada. Miss Cabell, obviously, she was fired or suspended at the end of the previous season. So
yeah, she was out.
So now Milchek is the manager of the Severance floor, and he has a child who is doing his old job.
We also get that little girl.
Yeah, Miss Huang.
Miss Yang.
Miss Huang.
Miss Yang.
Huang.
That's very strange as well.
Yeah.
And she's like the kind of like supervisor.
Yes, very mature
Assistant,
for her external
deputy
age. And then we get to meet this new team. So we've got Mark W, Dario R, and Gwendolyn Y. And then Mark S tries to stitch one of them up, places a escape note or something into his jacket, so he gets, to make him get caught in the lift. And after some sort of heated debates, that's finally when Mark is sort of sent home for the day. But then the next day, we start to see Dylan, Irving, and Helena back. Helly. So somehow, even though Milchek said it's impossible for them to return, suddenly they're back.
Which was quite surprising.
Now again, the assumption is this is the next day, but this could be weeks later, months, or could be the next day. The way time has worked in this episode, we just have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, because the people, those previous people, Mark, the other Mark.
Yeah, Mark W. and the other Mark, two. They're gone. They're gone.
They're just gone. But they do get mentioned, like, yeah, he mentions to, like, I think one of them.
Yeah, he's telling them what's happened.
Dylan, I think he mentions to Dylan that there was another set of workers. But then they get shown I think the next big one is the video. Milchek is saying this video is going to be shown to all new employees.
Well, they've gone to the break room. So they've gone to the break room and they're showing this video. And in season 1, the break room was this room where, as humans, they were broken. Like, they had to read out this apology. Like, Helly, the first time she did it was like 1,047 times she had to read that out. Now the break room looks more like a break room. It's got, somewhere they can sit and take an actual break.
And in the video, that it looks like they're trying to say, like, we understand now, because of these 4 individuals and what they've done, we've changed our ways, and we're going to listen. We're going to start listening and make some changes, and we've started already making changes to improve the atmosphere in this place. And it's like, oh, seems like they actually are listening to them. And then they break it to him right at the end of the video that you get a choice if you want to leave. You can leave if you want. you don't have to stay here. Which was like, oh, you're just gonna let them leave? That's what they wanted in season 1, just to leave. But then I was thinking, how is that going to work? Because you would have an outie and an innie in the same world.
Well, they wouldn't get to leave.
Was that not what was suggested? And then he said,
No, I think it's just you go to the lift and your outie just continues as the outie. The innie no longer exists, and that was the whole thing. It's like if they decide not to come back tomorrow, then they don't come back, and we see this later on with Irving and Dylan. And Irving tries to go through the door because essentially he's trying to. He's so
commit suicide.
He's so upset with what he saw Bert's. And he understands that this is the outside Bert who doesn't know who he is, but he's still hurting he's still hurting over seeing this and everything. And to him, Bert has died, so he now doesn't want to live. So he doesn't have to harm himself to off himself, but he could leave Severance, and that version of him would no longer be around to feel the pain, as he put it.
Yeah.
So there's a few things, I'm not going to lie, Jen and I have watched a few videos sort of talking about the episode, theories and things that might be absurd, things that might be a bit more real. One thing I was going to say when we were just talking about time, I don't know if you spotted things in the background with Milchek's office. Where the first time we go in there, despite it being 5 months since the end of season 1, Milchek is still unpacking his office. So there's like a light behind the door, a floor lamp, and it's still within the plastic packaging. And later in the episode, that's been unpacked and it's it's been plugged in and it's being used. And I think in the very first scene, Milchek is moving some boxes around. Whether it has actually been 5 months is maybe questionable. Like, it's been enough time that they've painted the office and redecorated, so maybe it's been a week or two. But I don't know if it will actually take 5 months for him to just get to a point where he's only just unpacking a lamp and some other bits and pieces. And yes, he's very annoyed because his computer still says Miss Cabell on the welcome screen, and I think there's a couple of times where he's like calling down to systems, and he's getting Ms. Wang to call down to systems to try and get it changed. And interestingly, the title of the episode is called Ms. Cabell, yet Ms. Cabell does not feature in this episode. She's only present in her name being on that computer.
Well, the other big point right at the end is Haley?
Haley, yep.
Haley they discuss in the group in the break room what they saw. Haley lies about what actually she saw and her outie is. And I suppose I get why she did it, because telling a group of people, actually, I'm the daughter of the owner of this, the boss, is going to be quite hard to tell people, and people are going to have a different point. Like, they're just instantly going to think, well, we can't really trust you then, can we? It puts her in a difficult position, but I think she probably will regret that at some point later on in the series. Where
do you see later on as well when Helly and Mark are in the corridor just after Irving and Dylan have gone, and they're talking about his outie's wife and everything.
Yes,
and then she says, talking about whether she's going to stay and help, and then she talks about her outie, and she says something like, "We don't owe them shit," and she gets quite sort of like emotional when she says that. Well, there's a theory going around that Helly hasn't returned. What we think is Helly is actually Helena, the outie version who has been sent inside as a sort of rat to control the group, learn what's going on, contain them. And there's a few pieces of evidence that kind of point towards it. At the end of season 1, when the overtime contingency was turned off, she was being tackled to the ground. When she came out of the elevator, unlike everyone else, she wasn't doing what had just been happening to her. Like, Irving was screaming Bert, Mark was, he just had this revelation and he was just like chasing that up. Helly, she came running out of the lift to kind of almost pretend to be doing something. Like, it was like she was doing something before she got switched. Her action coming out of the lift doesn't tally with what was going on with her when that thing happened. So her brain hasn't potentially hasn't switched at the right time. The lying is another one. At first, I thought the exact same thing that you said, is that,
Right.
she's just embarrassed. She doesn't want everyone to know who she is because that might complicate things. And I was like, it's so annoying that because it's just awkward. But there's also like people have been going mad. They're like, she walks different, she talks different. So like Helly has a higher pitched voice and Helena has a lower pitched voice, and Helena has a more confident walk, which she would do because she's the daughter of a very powerful and influential man. So she's going to have she's going to have a rich person strut, where Helly is a very, she doesn't know anything. She's only 20 hours old at this point. So she's very sort of like young in that sort of sense. So that's the sort of thing fluttering around about Helly/Helena, is that she's not actually Helly. And she's actually a mole or a rat sent in to kind of like stop another uprising or something.
Yeah, well, how is that even possible? Because they would have to change the surgery.
No. They just send her in the lift and they don't activate the switching over thing. Like, they can do what they want. She was supposed to be this PR marketing thing, so they can do what they need to do this.
True.
But from my point of view, you've got 4 people who are acting out against the Severance system, whose innies are acting out against the Severance system. Send them home. Fire them. Problem solved.
Yeah,
why
I was
would you
that.
bring them back at all? I mean, if you did that, that's a sensible answer. We wouldn't have season 2. I get that. It's just like, why? What purpose do you have to bring them back?
That was my feeling when just before Milchek said to Mark, "Goodbye, Mark." I was like, okay, they're actually gonna fire him. Oh, okay, it makes more sense. They've been nothing but trouble. Just get rid of them at this point and just say contract is void. Get rid of them. That is a good point, but there does seem like there's something else that is going on the outside world.
Well, okay, so that's another sort of a point that I was going to bring up. This episode has been 100% from the perspective of the Severance. Well, let's say the Severance floor, because we don't know if everyone is Severance, but it's been the innies and the Severance version of everyone. We haven't seen Mark's outie, we haven't seen Dylan's outie or anyone else. We haven't seen his brother-in-law, his sister. So I suspect that maybe this episode has all been innies, it's all been Severance. Maybe episode 2 is going to be Mark on the outside and him trying to work his way back in. I don't know what Mark's plan is. I don't know if he's going to try and reintegrate both versions of him, or if one side is going to have to win out over the other. I don't know if the outside Mark is trying to rescue inside Mark, or just try to work out what's going on and rescue everyone. Not really sure. My suspicion is, we'll get a lot more outside world stuff going on in the next episode. Maybe Muzkabel will actually be in the next episode. Not sure. I guess we'll see.
What's also an interesting note was when Milchek was showing Dylan about the family area, and he said he always goes to Dylan about these little secrets he has. He's like, don't tell anyone. But then Dylan...
Milchek plays it off like he's being nice. Like, oh, look, we had a bit of a rough patch because we did the overtime contingency and you found out you had a kid and then you bit my arm. Now he knows he's got a wife, and he kind of he tells him his wife's name, and it almost sounds like there's venom. He says it in not a nasty way, but he's almost teasing him. But then a split second later, he takes him through to this room and says, look, this is something I'm building. And then he says, don't share this with your other co-workers. They're all single on the outside and they might resent you for it. And it's just this is just another thing that if Dylan does keep it a secret, it's just going to cause a rift between him and the other guy. So it's they've done this on purpose, I guess, to kind of try to split the group up, covertly from the inside amongst themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's one part of it, but I think he knows that eventually Dylan's going to spill it. So I don't know if it's the plan of actually just telling him and then just hoping that he actually tells them.
That he will eventually tell them, but at a point where they're like, why didn't you tell us? Why are you keeping secrets?
Potentially could be, but yeah, I don't see the big problem with it. Like, there's gonna be like a little family outie area so you can see the outie if they want to come. And maybe, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I don't think there's anything else.
Well, there's one more. There's one more pretty big thing. So we end the episode with Dylan returns to the cubicles and everyone's back. One thing to mention, they all sit down, and those green dividers, which in season 1 spent most of their time up so that they can't see each other, they were all fully lowered so that they can all see each other, and they're all sort of like giving each other looks, and they're like happy. They're happy they're back. They're just starting to do their work, and they're doing their numbers, their scary numbers, their woe numbers, their frolic, putting them into their bins as they need to. And then through Mark's screen, we start to see a reflection, and then the reflection turns into sort of like a CCTV image of, and I didn't recognise this person at first because she looks quite different, but it was Ms. Casey, because obviously she went down to the testing floor the last time we saw her. So it's now, the theory now is that the work that they're doing might compare to something, whatever's going on a testing floor, because Mark's screen said 68%, and Miss Casey's screen also said 68%, and then the rest of the stuff on there was things like heart rates and a few other sort of like monitoring, medical monitoring things. So, things going around like, I think in season 1 we were thinking like, are they bringing back dead bodies but there's no mind in them? So that's where the Severance program kind of brings something back, but that's why she's still a bit weird. Now it's like, are they tying emotions to the body? I've even seen people talking about, they're going to bring, they're going to resurrect Kia, the original, what's his name, Egan Kia. So the founder, the guy who's like flying in that video, they're going to resurrect him, but put him in one of these bodies. And maybe the work that they're doing is sort of like honing the people into these 4 emotions that Kia sort of like invented or decided were the true beings of people. So yeah, we end the episode with more questions than answers, a lot of mystery, and a lot of anticipation for the coming episodes and the rest of the series. Did you enjoy it? A good episode?
Yeah, it was good. It was okay. I wouldn't say it was like anything. It felt like season 1, episode 1, where there was still just a lot of questions, and like you say, you just don't know if they're telling the truth or what is happening. What is the bigger picture?
You can come up with ideas.
It seems like they're hiding.
It could be anything. Still could be anything.
It seems like they're hiding something because they're just being generally nice to him, and there must be a reason behind that. There's like there's always a motive. And it seems like they haven't shown their true cards yet. It's like, why are they being really nice now and changing their ways and offering, this and that? And like you say, they were quite happy at the end to start working again. But, yeah, I do think it was strange that little girl was like the assistant. That was like, yeah, they were like, what's going on?
It is weird. It's just weird. And that's the thing about the whole, the Kia Lumen company. It's a very strange company. The culture is just odd. I mean, the devout people like Miss Cabell, she's incredibly batshit insane. But even Milchek, who's a bit more normal, he's still very odd and strange. And it'll be interesting. I really hope that this is going to be a 2-season show. I hope they're going to wrap it up and end it. I'd be disappointed if this goes into like a 3, 4, 5 series show where they just never really answer anything. Like, sometimes it's like, yes, it's fun to have characters for a long time, but sometimes you just want to have a good story for a short time, but do it well.
That's like the X-Files, where it just keeps going on and on and on and on and on and on. I don't anticipate something like that happening with this, because like, how far can you take it before it's just like plot holes start appearing and the story itself? Yeah, it's like, how far are you going to get dragged to like not know what the hell's going on? There needs to be some sort of closure on what everything is going on. But yeah, we'll wait and see. The next episode is already out. I think it's releasing every Friday.
Yeah, every Friday. So we're recording this on the day episode 2 is just released. So we're kind of avoiding spoilers.
We're catching up.
I'll be watching that tomorrow, back with Jen, and then we'll probably watch other YouTube videos coming out. And yeah, we'll try and record next Friday. Hopefully I'll be back here.